let's talk about Midjourney. So, Midjourney is it's another one of these art generation tools. I might leave the link in the description down below. If you just look up Midjourney, you'll find the website. It's got this real sketchy looking website that, might scare you away if you're the sort of person who gets scared by the Microsoft wants to contact you about a virus on your computer. Uh, but it's a really cool tool, and I honestly feel bad for anybody who wants to get involved in like art as a career when they get older. I'll show you a couple of examples of things that I didn't generate myself, but have been generated inside of the Midjourney Discord. Even if you're not going to use Midjourney yourself, so you can use it on the free trial they have. Even if you're not going to use it yourself, I highly recommend that you just hop into the Discord, because there are some great images you can find that are just awesome for a wallpaper, if nothing else. So we have this one here. These ones I'm showing you right now are using a prompt about Final Fantasy XIV. So this one is Ultima Thule FF14 Edge of Creation Galaxy Planets. We have this one, FF14 Underwater Cityscape Epic Lighting. This one here is Ishgard Heavensward. They spelled Heavensward wrong, which is even funnier. FF14. This is the one I'm actually using as my wallpaper right now, and there are a bunch of others of these as well. We have this one here. We have this one here. We have this one here, which is like a dystopian AI future, like assembly line or something. Not really sure what's actually going on in this frame. This one here, and this one here. And these are just the ones that one more. These are just the ones that I've personally got saved. There is thousands upon thousands of these pieces that you can find on the Discord. I think the Discord might get cleared out every so often, so you might not find some of them if you go back and look for some of the ones I have here. If any of the ones that were shown there look like something you want, send me a message. I'll happily send it to you. So basically the way that Midjourney works is you'll give it a prompt. So you might say something like laughing, crying emoji, and then it will spit out 4 different images that it will then ask you about. So you can either go and refresh all those images, you can upscale one of them, or you can make a variation on one of them. So if you make a variation on one of them, then it will take that one image and then, I guess, feed it back into the algorithm and spit out 4 images that are using that concept as a base, but are all different in their own way. And then if you like one of those, you can choose to upscale it. This is then going to get rid of the rest of the images and make a higher resolution version of that, which you can then do a couple of things with. You can choose to make variations on this image again, if you just happen to not like it, because maybe it changed with the upscaling bit and just with those extra details didn't look the way that you thought it would look. You can upscale it to max, which is going to upscale it to whatever its maximum resolution is. Or you can I think you could also, there's something else you could do. Oh, you could just report to the bot whether you like the result. So you could give it a sad face, love heart, things like that, just to sort of help the algorithm grow in the way that people want the art to be. And the fun thing you can do, right? So the images that it spits out aren't the most high resolution. Like this one here. This one here isn't low res. I think it's 1080p maybe. But if you look at it closely, you probably can't see on the video, but it is a little bit soft, a little bit blurry. So if you go and take this image and then stick it through an upscaler like, say, Waifu 2X or any of the other upscalers out there, it is going to return some insane results. I didn't come up with the idea of upscaling it. One of the guys in my Discord, I sent this image over the Discord, and he sent me back a fucking 8K upscale. It was a 40 megabyte image. Like, why did you send this to me? So I went and, scaled it back down to 4K, which is more than enough. A 7 megabyte file, and it looks really good. Like, if I didn't know this was drawn by an AI, I would just assume it was like an interpretive painting of like Ishgard or something like that. And a lot of them are kind of like that. So, say like this path, for example, I could imagine someone actually painting this. Now, if you pixel peep on it, you can see that some of it looks a little bit wonky. Like, if you start looking at any of the more intricate details, like these branches here, mainly branches, anything you sort of expect to be like a certain shape, things don't tend to work out well. But when it's something where the shape is more ambiguous, like these rocks here, rocks can sort of be whatever shape, the leaves here, anything where it's like sort of splash of color also works really well. Like, this just looks like someone hit the canvas with a paintbrush. Like, nothing too surprising. And it's especially visible when it comes to faces. So, faces, if they're in a certain art style, so you can be like, I want it to be drawn in the style of Picasso. I want it to be drawn in the style of a engineering diagram. It will generally do it fairly well. But if you let it sort of go free reign, that's when things might get a little bit weird. Like, you have eyes that look a little bit wonky. You have faces that they look good, but not good in the way that someone would paint it. It's good, but you can tell that it's not made by a person. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, if you start looking at some of this art yourself and you look at it really closely, it becomes really obvious that things aren't drawn by a person. Hands are where it gets really obvious. Hands are just hard to draw in the first place. Generating hands is even worse. And whenever there is a hand being generated, you'll spot it. There are very, very rare occasions where a generated hand looks good. But besides that, when you're just trying to get it to do some like concept art style stuff, which is a style that I kind of like, with this wallpaper I have, it looks really good. It looks really incredible. Other things that it does fairly well are when you're trying to go with like a realistic object. So I'll see if I can find any of them right now. But there are a lot of renders of like jewels, for example, or like jewelry, or there was a couple I saw last time which I can't find now, where it was a skull encrusted with gems. And if you pixel peeped, you could tell that it wasn't drawn by a person. However, if you didn't, or you upscaled it, or you were looking at it from like a distance, you couldn't really tell. I'm not finding anything right now. Yeah, I'm finding a bunch of other things. I should have saved those when I first saw them. Oh, here we go. Here is one of the pieces of jewelry. So it's not loading. Okay, here we go. So it's clearly not perfect. Like, you can kind of tell that some of the very intricate detail here looks a little weird. It looks very... I think the best way to put it is, when it comes to very high detail sections, it tends to, like, sort of smudge the details. Yeah, it just smudge them as opposed... Like, obviously, smudging stuff can be an actual style that you try to implement, but it smudges it in a way like... Not like a person would smudge something, But if you were to grab like the I don't know what the tool is called in GIMP, but there's a tool where you can like blur things together. That's what it looks like. It looks like it's just taken a regular image and then sort of like blurred it up a bit, which does stand out a little bit. But the way I've been describing like Midjourney and dalle to people as well, both in sort of the same boat here, is these tools are to art generation like Pong is to video games. What I mean by this is when these games, like when Pong first came out, or when Pac-Man first came out, when, let's even go a bit more into the future, when the first Street Fighter came out, when the first arcade cabinets came out, anything like that, these were incredibly impressive. Like, the ability to control something on your TV with a thing you have in your hand, that's revolutionary. But if you look back on what Pong is, it's very crude in what is possible. But compare this to like look at the comparing it to modern video games. Play something like Elden Ring. So comparing Elden Ring to Pong, there is this gigantic leap here. Nobody thought that when Pong first came out that eventually one day you'd have something like Elden Ring. That's such a big jump. And I feel the same way about this art generation. What we have here looks incredible. This is Pong. This is the Pong of art generation. This is the very early stages where we are looking at it and we are being very impressed by what is possible. And I'm already of the mindset that for a lot of work, a lot of artists are going to be out of work in probably the next 5 years. Like, when it comes to concept art, for example, there might be, like, a lot of the early concept art stuff might end up just being AI generation, and then you clean it up with a person. And when it comes to things like logo design, if you have a model that is designed around logo design, that's going to put a lot of that work completely out of business. Obviously, if you want to have, very specific things, like you want to have a VTuber model design, that stuff's still going to have to be done by a person for a very long time. But it's not safe forever. I know that some people want to think that, like, creative fields, those are going to be, like, when AI takes over all of the manual labor jobs, when AI is doing truck driving and, heavy lifting and running restaurants, all of that stuff, everybody can just do creative work. We're already seeing here that may not be the case. Now, there's a difference between doing something as a hobby and doing it as a career. Obviously, this will never take away from people, like, doing art as a hobby. But career art, I don't see sticking around except for very edge cases that long into the future. And the same's gonna happen. Like, people thought this would never be possible with art. I think the exact same is going to happen with music as well. Especially now as we're getting better with things like deepfakes. When we get to the point where deepfaked audio is sort of indistinguishable from real world audio, why would we need why would we need people to be writing songs? Plus, you combine that with, like, GPT-3 and whatever models are out at the time for generating text. If you have a model designed entirely around writing lyrics. Combine deepfaking with a model that writes lyrics, and you can have yourself basically anything you want. There might still be a desire for sort of that human touch, that human level of crudeness, I guess, is probably, like, that human level of crudeness, that human level of roughness. You don't want to have it be perfect. But I don't think even in that case, it's still safe. Like, you could theoretically, if you have a complex enough model, deal with problems like that. I'm very worried for the future. Like, I am very excited and very worried for the future. There will definitely come a time where basically there's nothing. There is no work that cannot be done by by an AI. There'll be work that maybe people want done by a human, like maybe you want to have a massage by a human just because you want to have, that human touch. Maybe you want to have human waiters because, you want to actually have people to talk to. Maybe you want to have, any other number of things you might want to have a human there for. But a good part of those industries is going to be automated through AI. From the consumer's perspective, from the regular person, it's an improvement. But I don't know whether it's a good idea to go down that path. I don't know whether it's a good idea to effectively automate the work out of the world. I don't like the people that compare it to, the Industrial Revolution. Like, when the AI takes all the work, then we'll just move on to other things. Hey, look, we don't need people, handling horses in a cart anymore because now they can drive trucks. But I just don't see it. I don't see it going that way. I think this is different. I think building something that can do everything that a person can do, like once you've gotten to that point, what is there for a person to do? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't.